Okay, hold on. What, now there's no volume on this?
It's secret.
Apparently. It was loud AF before. Did you turn it down?
No, I haven't turned it on. It says that it's off. So anyone who's watching right now, we could sing along with our opening because
We
apparently
digress, and it's us, and we're gonna talk about stuff.
Yeah.
there you go. So no,
That's
it's not your volume. Restream is made. Hold on a second. Let's try again. Yeah, and no. The stream has made more changes again. Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is probably the one thing. Yes, Chris?
I was going to say, instead of just announcing it, can I tell my story to lead in to make the analogy?
Okay.
Okay. So one of the times I worked in a corporate shop, there was an incident with a cat, and this was shortly after we got our cameras in. And the camera was way up at the front so it could get check-in, and it was pointed straight to the back. And the way it was set up, the drying table was behind a wall, so you couldn't really see the drying table. Like, you could see a corner of it if the door was propped open, and you could see stuff that was going on around the drying table. So what happened was, one of my fellow groomers was grooming a cat, and she had the slip lead made into a harness, and the cat was being so good for everything. She went, oh my God, yes, Ashley, you're on time for once. The cat was being so good for everything. She went, I'm going to try to use the velocity dryer on this cat. No, Cat said no. Cat said, hell no. So all you really saw from the camera was the cat just start flying, and you could see like a cat like bounce all over on this side, and then a cat, like, you just saw a flying cat start bouncing, because she had it. Thank God she didn't have anything around his neck, because she was safe. But she tied it in a knot and not a slip knot, because there wasn't the room to do that. So as I reached way delicately above, the cat leapt up and attached itself to me by the mouth here. You can still kind of, you can't really on the camera, but I can still see the top teeth and lines on the bottom teeth. And you could see on the camera me then shaking my arm as the cat is attached to it. And I'm just shaking, and a cat is hanging off my arm. And clearly I went to the hospital. And by the time I came back, everybody in the store had seen the security footage and were kind of laughing about it. Now, is it funny now? Absolutely. This was years ago. Was it funny like the next week? Yes. But while I was still at the hospital, when they didn't know how bad a bite it was or how I was, because I don't know, you kind of have a lot of veins going on in this area of your body. Was it cool that everybody in the, and I mean sales associates, managers, cashiers, everybody in the store had seen it, but by the time I got back from the hospital.
Some people deal with trauma with laughter. That is a thing, but I find the whole story horrifying. That poor cat, the poor groomer who didn't have the foresight of doing a quick release, you for having a cat attached to you, and you might lose your arm for forever. Like, I mean, there's so many factors there.
I could
But
have.
yeah, after everybody is scooped up and treated and everything, yeah,
Yes,
laughter does
that's what I'm saying.
release.
Like once I'm back, like yes, once I'm
Mhm.
back, it's like you're okay. Infection hasn't set in because yeah, I could have lost my arm.
Mhm.
All right. So the whole point
Not funny.
No, it's not funny. Now, here's the thing, right? So there's been a lot of I'm not even sure if it's equally divided, but there's enough people who think taking the nozzle and having a dog attack it while singing a song for likes and views is okay, and the rest of us are horrified.
Mhm.
Horrified into a coma. So yeah,
All right. And I think what the big problem is sometimes there is a disconnect when you're not personally feeling something. Okay. So I'm gonna I want to do an exercise. I'm gonna use a couple examples for myself. Okay. There are a couple things I'm really afraid of. Okay. I'm afraid of snakes. Okay. And for people who are not, you're gonna think, well, that's stupid. But if I went into a pet store to buy pet food, and for funsies, they would have like loose snakes or whatever, and then video clients' reactions to it, laugh at it within their group. I don't think I would want to come back to that store. And
Right.
if my husband thought it was funny, that's great because now he could shop in that store, or I'm going someplace else because I would not go back to that store because I'm
Mhm.
afraid of snakes. And nobody has the right to tell you what you're fearful of. Okay. I'm sure there are things people are afraid of. I mean, I'm not afraid of spiders. I know spiders send some people into another dimension.
Yeah.
I'm also afraid of my dentist. Okay. And
Mhm.
that's a pretty common fear, correct?
Mhm. Mhm.
oh yeah.
Can you imagine if the dentist's offices are there with their cameras and they're videotaping? I mean, I want to be sedated for a cleaning.
Mhm.
Okay. And they put that out on TikTok about, why you're afraid of the dentist, yada, yada. That, again, is the same thing. I wouldn't go back to that dentist. Well, let's
Or even taking a video while you're sedated because some people are really goofy during sedation.
yeah.
So if they took a video and without your consent posted on Facebook so everybody could laugh at you under sedation.
Yeah. All right. But let's take it a step. Let's take real fear. Okay. And for me, snakes are a real fear. Okay. But I can remember I was 15 years old and I used to walk back and forth to my library because we didn't have like ebooks or anything like that. And if I wanted to read something my mother did not want me to read, I had to go to the library and go read the book. Okay. So which is like on a fairly regular basis, but it was a long walk, was a couple of miles. So a couple hours there and back. And I left late one time because apparently the book I was reading was rather interesting and engrossing and could not take it out because I couldn't bring the book home. So anyway, so the walk home started through a very residential area, and then it went through a lower income commercial area, and then we hooked a corner around, and then I went past like junkyards. Now I had no fear of walking past the junkyards, mind you, because those dogs knew me and they loved me.
Cookies?
Cookies? Can we say cookies? So I was never afraid of that. All right. However, now I'm in the commercial zone and it's dark because I miscalculated how long it would take me or the time that I actually left. All right. There are no cell phones, and if I didn't have a quarter for the payphone, there was no calling anyone to come pick me up. Right. So three guys are now walking behind me and they're making lewd comments, what they're going to do to me. And I am now absolutely terrified. Okay. Um, they could have videotaped the whole entire thing, and they would have had And even if it was just to make me uncomfortable, okay? I fortunately was able to, the only open store, okay, was a liquor store, which I ducked into and begged the guy to let me call my father to come pick me up. All right. But then you're talking, that's close to 50 years ago. And when I tell you that is still scary for me because I've never processed that, never worked with anyone to get over that. So if I think about that, I'm scared. Right? So let's now frame it now to the pets in our care. Right? It is not for us to determine what that pet is afraid of or not afraid of. Okay. Body language doesn't, unless you really know your body language. And I know Ashley's on here right now. Just because a tail is wagging does not mean this pet wants to play. Right. And you might think it's funny to blow, even if you got the nozzle off, and we've seen way too many of them with the condenser nozzle on.
With the condenser nozzle on.
Right? And so not only are they inducing fear, you can blow out a lung, you could damage nasal cavities, you can blow out eardrums, you can cause damage to the eyes.
And I learned this very, very early in my grooming career because the story I tell about the Saint Bernard attacking me, the reason he was going in the crate so early was because he was biting at the dryer. And I didn't aim it at his face. And yes, he was jowly, and I was young and stupid and a new bather and didn't know any of that and was like, oh, that's funny, but I can't get him dry because no matter where I put it on his body, he turned to bite it and attack it. And that riled him up to the point where when I went to put him in the crate, he turned and attacked me.
Yeah.
So you don't know how they're going to react to things. It's not funny.
Well, I'll take it from a different tack. Dogs aren't human. They're not human. They don't think like a human. They resemble us in social behavior a lot. That's why we're so good together. However, they're not human. They don't get the joke. It is not a natural behavior. And I see all these videos of, the disappearing behind the towel joke and barking at your dog to see what he'll do joke, and all kinds of people doing all these things. And they just think it's hilarious. When you joke and the joke is on your dog, you take a piece of trust away that a normal pack would never do because they depend on each other for their life, for their survival. And that's the kind of relationship the dog has with you. So if you make it the butt of a joke, they'll take it personally for forever and they trust you less. And every single time you do something like that, they trust you less and less. And it makes your relationship less and less when you could have the full enriching beauty, the gift of what a dog could give you in terms of a relationship. So I think not only should you not joke with your own personal dog, you should definitely not joke with someone who trusts you and you're not even part of their pack. You're not even their owner. You're not their friend. They have to submit to you, and they're trapped in a situation where they're at your mercy. So to ruin that thread of trust with somebody else's best friend who trusts you, has to trust you, is in your care, is unforgivable to me. And some people think I'm, she just doesn't have a sense of humor. Not where dogs are concerned. For them, it's real in the moment, and they either trust you or they don't. You have a chance every single time when you groom a dog to become that trusted friend of that dog while it's going through something that's really unnatural. And when you blow that, man, have you blown it good. You just blown it.
So I had a client where, unknown to me, at least initially, I was sharing her with her dog sitter who was learning how to groom. Okay. And I noticed every time that I would groom this pet, I had to work again on behavior. Right. Because whatever she was doing was scaring this little dog, whether it was intentional or not, I don't know. She could have asked for me to mentor her, might have been a better way of doing it, rather than just trying to mimic the cut I was doing, right? So yeah, the point being is that these pets are in our care, and how many of us have had to. There's a whole segment of groomers. Here's Pooh, who's going to absolutely agree with me. There's a whole segment of groomers, okay, where their niche is rehabilitating these dogs. Right. So if you're in a shop and like all the dogs are bad, all right, all of them have this behavior. All right. Most of them have this behavior. Then I think it's time to maybe step back and see why all the pets in this your facility are behaving like this.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. It shouldn't be all your regulars should trust you and
Yeah.
come in. And if they're not friendly, they should be cooperative.
Go ahead.
At the very least, because some dogs, some dogs don't like you no matter what, but they at least will comply
Yeah.
and wait their turn to go home. And that's fine. Everybody doesn't have to like me. It's fine. But there shouldn't be a common thread of, oh, we do all the behavior dogs, and then all of them are still bad. The new ones coming in should maybe have the issue, not the ones you've been doing for years, not the ones that are regulars. And that's just a matter of changing your behavior to make it peaceful enough and trustworthy enough for that dog to cooperate with you.
Hey, Mindy.
And you know what, Michelle, it's not just dogs. You said something and I was like, oh crap, I'm apparently still traumatized by something from childhood because
Right. Yes.
because the line, can't you take a joke, is what bullies use
Mm-hmm.
when you are upset and somebody
Mhm.
catches them and it's brought to light. I was joking. They just can't take a joke. No, maybe it wasn't fucking funny.
Mm-hmm. And for people, at least, we have reason. We can work through it and find the funny in it if we can, or not. But we can reason through it. Dogs cannot do that.
Exactly.
They don't have that. They don't survive like that. It's not in their brain to be that way. Now, some dogs, and it's a normal behavior for them to hide and then jump out at you. That's a hunting behavior, and that's what puppies do in the litter. They play with each other like that. That's a very normal thing. However, putting an outfit on them and then laughing at them while they're miserable, they don't understand that. Tricking them into playing that you're dead and they worry about you, or floundering in the lake and they try to come in and save you. Some people think that's delightful and funny. The dog is saving you because it loves you, and that is a very bad thing to happen in the dog's mind. So I mean, when you play a joke on an animal, they don't operate like that. They don't, even though we might think it's hilarious in a human context, it's just not for them. And it's not, and especially when they're not even playing along and you're blowing forced air into their face and they can't move because they're looped in. It's only funny to the people that are watching that have that mindset. It's not funny for the dog. That's like, smacking mentally disabled kids around or taking candy from a baby. They don't understand, and it's wrong.
All right. So I'm going to invite anyone who's listening to think of the scariest thing that ever happened to them, and then having to relive that every 6 weeks, or 4 weeks, or 8 weeks, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that going? What does that do to your mental state, to your state of being?
Mm-hmm. And what do we say all the time? Stress can kill you. Stress can make you sick. So if you're carrying that and then something happens and reminds you, oh yeah, I got to go in another 2 days. And I remember what happened last time, and it happens again and again and again. That becomes their life because they live in the present. And we do too, to a certain extent. We can be branded in our soul, in our brain with some traumatic event. That's actually how we learn. It's necessary, but it shouldn't be necessary in the face of joking. That's not funny. If everybody's not laughing, it ain't funny. In that respect, especially when one person who's the butt of the joke, or one dog who's the butt of the joke, doesn't have the reasoning capacity to work through to the funny.
Okay. Chris, in the private chat, I sent you a link.
I saw, but I feel like we did zombies last week.
Yeah, but this one is now a sex crazed zombie.
Oh, okay. I clearly did not read
Right
it
up her
all
alley.
the way. What happened? Oh, okay. What?
Oh, she has that face. I'm afraid. I'm going
You
to
should-
be traumatized.
I am making that face. You should be.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either,
Oh,
Daria.
dear. Oh,
It came across my feed in Facebook, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is right.
I've seen the reactions to it, to the velocity dryer, whatever debacle, but I haven't seen the original. I probably would cry.
honestly, I don't want to because I don't want to
Mhm.
give it any more views.
Right.
I don't want to give it any more views. But
And here's another thing. So some owners think it's funny, but you know what? They're not the professionals. Okay. It's really up to us to explain to them why it's not funny.
hmm Until you've rehabilitated a dog that has been through so much trauma, uh, and is in your house, and you have to live with that trauma and work through it until that dog begins to blossom and bloom the personality. For Gemma, it took over a year before she started acting like a dog. Otherwise, she would just hide in blankets. And when you think of that, I don't know what happened to her, but whatever it was, she shut down so much that she couldn't take interaction and she had seizures almost daily. Now don't see a seizure, but every maybe 6 months, and
Okay.
she's a whole dog.
Now you bring up a good point. Anxiety can lead to a seizure.
hmm
Okay. It can be a precursor to a seizure. So if a pet is that anxious and that anxiety, okay, if that anxiety doesn't come down, it can absolutely lead to a seizure.
hmm And prolonged anxiety like that can also lead to disease.
Yeah.
It affects the kidneys. It affects the adrenal gland. It affects all those things. And if one piece of the system is out of whack, it affects every other system in the body. When you're holding on to cortisol or adrenaline because of anxiety, you get sick. It happens
Yeah.
in people all the time. Dogs, it happens all the time. They go through the same thing because you're only supposed to be anxious when you are in a dangerous situation, and then your body has mechanisms to calm it down. But if they always experience that wherever they go or ever grooming, that grooming is going to be a fight to the death or a submissiveness that is unhealthy.
yeah.
All right, Chris, do you have enough to do Chris's?
I think so because I read further in the article and it's truly terrifying. And they had me at interlocking genitalia.
Jeez.
Okay, and we just want to reiterate, this is all Angie's
This
fault.
is useful.
Totally Angie's fault because apparently,
Angie and her whole work-life balance thing that's happening now.
yeah. So, any complaints about this?
Directed directly to Angie. Okay, so I'm
Wait, hold on.
not
Because we should finish up on that. So
yeah.
we got, so everyone knows that Groomed is coming up in like, what is it, a week and a half? 2 weeks?
Oh God, like
It's very close.
A
It's
week.
very close. A week and a half. Okay. I will be there. Chris will be there. I'm doing 3 first aid classes, which may or may not be already full. If you haven't signed up for those classes, I recommend because they do get a waiting list and there's no guarantee. But Chris, I, and Angie are also doing a groomer roundtable on the Friday. The reason I make mention that I will be there is that I will bring some books if people want them. Books are heavy. I am not bringing a load of books and then have to cart them back home again in my suitcase. Okay? So, A Spirited Life, the 2 mobile grooming books, the emergency and disaster book. If you want a copy of those books and you are going to be at Groomed, you need to let me know. I am only going to bring the books people are asking for. Okay?
That's fair.
All right. So, you ready, Chris?
Yes, and I'm still making faces reacting to this article.
I'm not ready.
You know,
Well,
we get new people jump on towards the end of this, and I'm pretty sure, Chris, the reason that they're jumping on is they don't care about the whole first 25 minutes. Like, whatever.
They want to talk about sex, bugs, drugs, and rock and roll. Because
Okay. Before we do that, Daria says that I know she had to do Intergroom 3 times. She was waitlisted for tag team at Intergroom. Well, let's see, interferometry.
Interferometry.
Stop. It's late. She probably groomed today. She's got a toddler.
I think there should be a challenge now that is named interferometry.
Yeah.
You know what?
That's a great name. I may name my next album.
Interferometry.
Yeah,
That's
interferometry.
fine. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing with any of these contests. Yes, people are not going to show up. So the way it works is you've got to get on the wait list. Okay. And then when they have the staging area for them, and they tell you tell them you're here, you got to take it one step further. You're going to be standing. They're going to tell you to go sit down, but you're going to be standing right there by the table. Because if only one place opens up, one slot opens up, you want to be first in line, not having to get up from your chair and walk over to be behind the 3 people who are smarter who stood by the table.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because they're not going to say, "Oh, not you. Let's take." They want to fill that table.
Yeah. So
At that point.
So be at the check-in for that. Make sure that you know that they know you're there for the wait list, and then you stand right there. Okay.
Because a lot of times they won't know until.
No, they won't know until
Yeah.
that, like 5 minutes before.
Mhm.
Okay. So unless people drop out, but if people drop out prior to the show, they'll go on the wait list and pull people off.
Mhm.
Okay. So, okay, Chris, we need to have an opening for now Chris's weird animal facts.
Sex, bugs, drugs,
And rock and roll.
and rock and roll.
Okay. Sex, bugs, and drugs. That literally is.
Sex, bugs, and drugs. This is sex,
She
bugs, and
needs to write
drugs
a book
today.
now.
Okay, so this one's rough. So we talked about the zombie spiders last week, which was terrifying enough. However, this is also Mary's fault. She just sent me an article from
No blame on me. This is Angie's fault for not having something cute here. But go ahead.
But also Mary sent me this article.
Mary, you're not getting out of this one.
You're not getting out of this one completely. Because remember, I was ready to be like, nah, we did zombie bugs last week. And Mary's like,
This is
read
different
on,
zombie
bitch,
bugs."
read on. Okay, so there is once again, it is a fungus that attacks cicadas. And it basically, a mass of spores build up in its lower abdomen. And eventually, for the infected cicadas, the lower abdomen, including the genitals, falls off, exposing this fungal plug. Now, you'd think that would be the end of it. So this fungus is somehow making the cicadas even more horny, for lack of a better word, hypersexualized, and pumping it full of amphetamines to keep going, even though half of its body just fell off. So this amphetamine-fueled cicada is now horny AF and going to bust out other cicadas.
Except it has no genitalia.
Doesn't really matter. The plug somehow does something because, I mean, it's not actually doing the thing, but because cicadas have interlocking genitalia, when it tries to do the Humpty Hump and it goes to detach, it rips the fungal plug off. So now it's still pumped full of amphetamines and it's flying around, but the plug is off. So all the spores are just kind of like a salt shaker of death, they called it. They're just kind of going out into the world and sporing to all the other cicadas to infect.
That's in a lab somewhere.
Mm.
You know it is. Don't even try to play.
So now they made a point of saying in the article that since cicadas are edible, be picky about what cicadas you eat.
I'm just not eating any cicadas. We'll just leave it right there.
If you find a dead cicada, don't put that in your mouth.
Will it do the same things to humans?
They say no. They say the amount, and by the way, don't be like, ooh, free amphetamines and start popping dead cicadas in your mouth, because the dose required to keep a cicada going isn't even going to make you blink fast. Like, it's not going to, they say it's
probably
not
not
going
the same mechanism either.
Right. Not the same mechanism. They say it's probably not going to affect your dog or cat either, but I just wouldn't, just try not to let
Try not to
them
eat
them.
cicadas. Easy.
Right? Boom. Problem solved. Let's
Problem
not eat
solved.
cicadas. Notice the chat got really quiet because they're like,
you know what? And I wouldn't even eat cordyceps, and I know they cultivate those for culinary use. But cordyceps is the one that busts out of the ant's head and make them do things. Oh, no.
Yeah, no.
Just no cordyceps, no nothing. But I'm telling you, that fungus probably is in a lab somewhere and they're experimenting on it, because people, labs, they do stuff.
So basically, if we learned anything combining last week and this week, is that zombies could happen. Zombies could happen, and it's probably going to be a fungus. Wear your mask. I don't know.
Cultivated in a lab. Just call me Hecklefish. Sorry. Shout out to Hecklefish.
Okay. Totally okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Just ew.
Trauma.
all right. So, I think we'll wrap up.
My
Yes.
very trusting dog is putting this wet Kong, just putting it on the desk next to me
Aw.
because I am supposed to throw it, because we cultivated some trust.
Mm-hmm.
He knows if he brings it to me, I throw it.
Okay. We'll be back next week.
Mary's like,
Can we not? Mary's like, can we not? Mary, you have some.
Well, here's the thing. When we're scrambling for a weird animal fact,
That's true. That's true, because I really had no idea.
I'll start bringing a
what was
list to
happening.
the table just in case. I'll be the backup. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No sex, drugs, and bugs?
No.
I think that should be the name of my segment, Sex, Drugs, and Bugs.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree with that.
I'm so disturbed.
oh, well,
Wait. Before you not go live, I forgot to thank Michelle privately, so I'm going to thank her publicly for the full-size sample of dewdrops that she sent for the goodie bags for the groomers ball, because dewdrops. Oh, they're so good.
And the packaging has holographic things on it. So
I
I mean,
know.
who doesn't want that? And it's a reusable tin.
I know. I have the tiny one from last year, and I'm like, I know I could do something with this. I can't toss the tin.
Yeah.
okay. So, Ashley, you can't leave us hanging. What did you do? She still needs to charge me to get a little of everything.
Oh,
No,
okay.
you need to go to the online store and order the things that you want.
There you go.
I just revamped the website and it's so much easier to navigate.
Nice.
Okay, so what's the website?
Allthingspaw.com.
Hold on. Now she's teasing us.
Oh,
I
she
know.
did a reel. Oh, I know it. I've seen it.
Okay, and
You have to go see it for
Yeah.
yourself.
She's holding out on us.
Uh-huh.
all
Wow,
right.
Ash.
Good night, everybody.
Right. Devastated. Mary's over it.